first known rules of golf were drawn up in 1744 by the Gentlemen Golfers of Edinburgh in Leith, Scotland. Since then the game has changed dramatically. Golf courses, equipment, and not least the rules. So where do I go when I want to learn about the rules of the game today? Well, I go to the Golf Rules Questions podcast with Blakey and Roscoe, of course. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast.
Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Golf Rules Questions podcast, episode 48. My name's Roscoe, here to welcome you back. I guess I'm welcoming me back because I've been absent, yes, and thank you if you were one of the kind people that did notice that and sent David a question. Where's the other guy? The other guy's here. I'm not staying around. We've been catching up with a wonderful guest who joins us from the UK today, Fraser Nicol. Fraser is on the line. He's listening in. Blakey, are you there, Blakey?
I am. Hello, Roscoe. Hello, Fraser. Welcome to 48.
Fraser, welcome. If you pick up on the accent, yes, Fraser is an absolute 100% dedicated Scotsman. So we've been chatting away about football, about golf in Scotland, about Ryder Cup, you name it. We've talked about it. We've taken up all the time. I'm just going to exit out of here. Blakey's done a wonderful job with the podcast and keeping it all going. I'll be back, don't worry. And thank you for letting me just to sneak in and listen to here. Blakey, you well? You all right? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for letting me stuff up the live stream by myself. So it'll be good to have you back when we do the pre-recorded stuff. So looking forward to it.
I'm happy if we can do live, if we can do pre-recorded, as long as we're doing something, I'll be back. But I appreciate you letting me have a bit of a break because I've had plenty of stuff going on. And if you watch the video, and I know you'll be making video, you can see me here in the studio. It's sort of like what they do for the Ryder Cup. You know, it's this wonderful studio here. I've got actually for Fraser, I've got the St Andrews in the background here. You can see that's the Old Course Hotel. I've just nutted one about 225 metres down the middle of the second fairway over the gorse. One of the great shots in golf. You can't see the fairway. The gorse is there. Don't hit it in the gorse. Why don't we want to hit it in the gorse, Fraser?
It's pretty prickly.
It's pretty prickly indeed. Very long spikes. Don't hit it in the gorse. But
there's no snakes in there, though.
No, mate. No snakes, mate. St Andrews there. I might finish off my round. Leave you two guys to it. Blakey, keep up the good work, mate. You've done well. Fraser, nice to meet you in person. Thanks for the chat. Thank you, mate. Thanks for the chat about all things golf, all things your part of the world, all things our part of the world. And I'll see you next time, Blakey. I'll see you soon.
See ya. 49.
Cheers, Roscoe.
See you guys. Oh, see you, Roscoe. So, Mr. Nicol, how are you? Going well?
Hey.
Early morning there.
Yeah, I've got to think about a good evening to you. Good morning from me.
You know,
yeah, I'm all good. Thanks, Blakey. This is
it's 9 hours behind.
It's a real pleasure to join you. Say again.
It's 9 hours behind, but in about 6 weeks, or even less than that, for 5 weeks, you'll be 11 hours behind.
Oh wow! Maybe just as well we got this one scheduled now then.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you're coming back from your school run at 9 a.m. In 5 weeks' time, that'll be 8 p.m. here. Might not be too bad, but you know, this will be just your first of many, I think, Fraser.
Oh. Yeah, let's get through this one first.
Well, for our listeners or viewers, wherever you're watching or listening, we've welcomed on my good friend Fraser Nicol. And firstly, we're going to get through the answer for the GRQOTW 48, which I did have a little bit of a struggle and had to just confirm with Fraser as to where I could actually find the rule, because I knew I thought I knew where it was in the old book, but couldn't find it. And then I was absolutely sure it was in the new book, but still couldn't find it. So we got there in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did.
So the question and answer for episode 48 of the GRQOTW, it was a long one, so I'll quickly read through it. Stuart and Ray are playing Big P and Gerry in a handicapped 4-ball match at Wombat Hills Golf Club. Lots of shocking stuff happens at Wombat Hills. On the second hole of the day, Ray steps on his ball in the middle of the fairway when he was talking excitedly to Stuart about how he was getting 15 shots in the match. Ray replaced his ball where he thought he had moved it from, whilst Stuart and Big P were watching. Although Ray thought he was exempt from penalty under Rule 7.4, Stuart knew this was a breach of Rule 9.4 but said nothing. Big P assumed there was no penalty either. Ray then played an amazing shot, which resulted in a conceded putt and what Big P and Gerry thought was a birdie, which they could not beat. On the next teeing area, Stuart played from outside the teeing area, which Gerry pointed out and asked Stuart to cancel the stroke and replay. Big P then joked to Gerry about the side making a blunder on the last hole when Ray stood on his ball in the middle of the fairway. Was there any course of action that Gerry could take for Ray's blunder on the second hole now that he had just found out? And the answer is, unfortunately, Gerry and Big P are unable to make a claim for the second hole because one of the partners, e.g. Big P, knew of the incident when it happened. So if that's the case, then you have to make a timely claim, or that side has to make a timely claim before anyone tees off from the next teeing area. So as Stuart had teed off, even though his shot was cancelled by Gerry, so he teed off outside and Gerry cancelled the shot. That first shot, although it does not count, it still qualifies as the third hole having started by that group. So that's Rule 0.61. It's blatantly, it's, the text is very, very easy, simple to pick up. Clear is what I'm getting at. It's very clear. Rule 6.1a, the first hole was already started, or that hole's already started, even though the stroke is cancelled, and therefore Gerry and P aren't able to make a claim. And that is the answer. Happy with that, Fraser?
Yeah. Yeah, 6.1a.
6.1a.
20.1b2, I think, if I remember rightly.
Very good, very good. Can the same be said for stroke play?
Oh, can the same be said? Well, yes. Stroke play.
Have I put you on the spot there?
No, you haven't put me on the spot. Let's think about this. The difference is in stroke play, has the hole started? The player must correct the error and tee off from the teeing area. But I think, is it not the same principle without looking at the rule? Does it not say the hole has started?
Yes, yes, it has. Although that wouldn't matter because there wouldn't be any need for a timely claim because it's
yeah, no.
So in that case, he did replace the ball, so he just needs to make that birdie a par, basically. Make the birdie a par, and before they hand in their card. So, and then Stuart's obviously teed off from outside the teeing area, so he would have to, not even at Gerry's request, have to correct his mistake and add 2 shots. Yeah. Right, let's get started now. Welcome, Fraser. I think we've only welcomed you about 5 times so far. It's a bit of it's a bit of fun on this podcast. The golf rules can be very dry, but we try and have a bit of fun. So we just, start from the start is what I've written down on the agenda. who are you, Fraser? And how do you know? How do we know each other? Is probably the greatest place to start.
Yeah. The better question is, what on earth am I doing here, Blake?
I think we all ask ourselves that.
Yeah. Well, who am I? Everybody knows me as Fraz. It's not phrase, it's Fraz. It's the Z. But I'm more commonly known as the GolfRules Samaritan. Like you, Blakey, I have a deep love and passion for the rules of golf. And about a year and a half ago, yeah, it was a year and a half ago, March, April 2020, when we went into lockdown for the first time here in the UK, I created a little Facebook group, which I started then for the whole purpose, just the sole purpose of teaching my golfing buddies the rules, because, you know, despite the fact they'd all been playing golf 20 plus years, none of them knew the rules. None of them knew how to apply the rules. And I had I think I just completed the R&A level 1 exam under the 2019 modernisation. And I thought, look, nobody's golfing, the golf courses are shut down. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about the rules. So I set up a Facebook group. And it started with 6 of my mates. And here we are 18 months later. And it's now 930 strong. And like yourself, it's just, I've got rules officials, rules aficionados, rules gurus, rules nerds from all over the planet, from every continent. And it's, I don't know why, Blakey, but it's just grown. It's become really popular. I didn't set out with, you know, with a quest to build a rules group and to grow it, but it's just one thing has led to the other, and here we are 18 months later. Like you, I'm running a sort of social media outlet dedicated to the rules, and that's how you and I met. I think during my early, let me go back. I passed my level 1 exam, and I immediately wanted to start studying for the level 2 exam. And if I remember rightly, I went online looking for level 2 material, questions, you know, tougher material. And, you know, a few Google searches. I think I came across your website, Golf is an Attitude. And then through that, you know, I learned about the podcasts and the YouTube channel. You know, and we got to know each other. I think I may have reached out to you and asked you to join my group to help me along and help all my my colleagues along. I might be wrong in that, but I'm going to give you credit.
I was trying to work out. I was almost thinking that I had a mistake in one of my questions, and you reached out and said, "Is that the right answer?" And I was like, "Oh, who's this guy?" It might have been something like that, or either that, or you were looking for exam papers and someone had told you that I might be a good resource for that.
Possibly.
It could have been something
so long
like that.
ago. Like,
it
is.
You
and I have had so many conversations between, you know, then and now. It's it almost feels as if we've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah. Did you have any, you know, anything to do with the rules prior to this? Like, what was your experience or interaction with the rules? Let's even, like, obviously prior to 2020, but prior to 2019 when the new rules came about.
Well, I'm no spring chicken. I've been playing golf 50 plus years, Blakey. Back round about 2017, I took on the role as competition and handicap secretary at my my local golf club, Kings Hill Golf Club in Kent.
Yeah.
It was an eye-opener for me, because despite having played for so long, I thought I knew the rules. And being in charge of competitions and having to deal with all the weird and wonderful scenarios that are thrown at you when players come off the course, it was a bit of a shock. And that was the first time I realised I appreciated I don't know the rules well enough, and I felt compelled in my position as competition secretary to know them better. So under the old rules, I sat the R&A level 1 exam. I studied for a couple of weeks, used all the material, passed with flying colours, and it was my aim to move on and do level 2. But as it turned out, I left the role after 18 months. I gave up. It was just, I was still working. It was just taking up too much of my time, and I gave up. And I thought, that time we knew the 2019 modernisation programme was afoot and was going to, come into play. And I thought, I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to study to do a level 2 exam for rules that have a shelf life of 12, 13 months. So I gave up. But then, as I said, back in 2020, I wasn't working. I was looking for something to keep me occupied, keep me mentally sane. I did the level 1 again, and I wanted to do the level 2. And that's really where it all kicked off. And it was then I really discovered this how much I enjoyed studying the rules and learning the rules and really getting underneath the bonnet of the rules and getting, like opening the bonnet and getting your hands dirty with the engine and taking it apart and really understanding how are all the rules connected, a bit like an engine, how's everything paired up, what drives what feeds what, and to me it just became one big huge game of dots, join the dots.
Why do you think?
So that's where it all started for me.
Why do you think the rules of golf are so important?
Oh, why are they so important?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's like any sport, Blakey. We've got to have rules there to govern, how we play the sport. But if we think back about the legacy and the history of the rules, they've been around since 1744. 270 plus 277 years we've had them. Why are they important? Let me just switch that, throw it around. I think what's more important, Blakey, is anybody who plays the game, who enjoys the game, and wants to be involved in golf, I believe should make a huge effort to become more acquainted with the rules of golf, with the rules that govern the sport we play, the sport we love, because for me, that's the most important part. If you even have just a basic understanding of the rules, you're actually able to play the game more effectively. You know how you need to drop, when you need to drop, when you need to place, how you proceed in certain scenarios. Funnily enough, when I left my role as the competition secretary, the last conversation I had with my committee that I was on, part of, was I felt anybody who played in a competition should be first asked to pass a basic exam on the rules of golf. That's how passionate I felt about it, because for me, I knew, every weekend I'd be speaking to anything from a 36 handicapper to a +4 or 5 handicapper, yeah? And trust me, even the guys in single figures and the plus guys didn't know the rules. And to me, that begged the question, what is your true handicap? If you're out there playing golf, not applying the rules, how many penalty strokes really have applied to your round? You know, how many rules have you breached? And is your scorecard a true reflection of your score?
I mean,
so I would say, to me, it's important that we all understand the rules and we all adhere to them.
That's really interesting and a good point. And you know, there are a lot of clubs and associations that still require, certainly in Europe, I've heard more so, but in, say, down our part of the world and probably the big island that is America, you know, that they see that as a barrier to entry, that to require someone to do a rules test or even pass a basic level 1 is stopping someone from getting into the game. And if you stop someone from getting into the game, that's money. That's, you know, that's a club member, a potential club member. That's a potential person buying golf clubs. It's a potential person buying golf balls, golf shoes, golf clothes. Because if they can't pass a basic rules test, then, or if you say, hey, you have to read these 20 questions and you got to get 16 of them right, and they'll just say, oh, I'll try another sport, you know, I'll try cycling or basketball or fishing, yeah, definitely fishing. So the hard thing is there, whilst you and I are both super passionate, it's, you know, the development, if we talk about the development of the rules and where they're going, and, you know, you possibly, are we losing some of the history of the game? But at the same time, we're opening it up to more people. That's a really hard, is that how you sort of see it? Like, we're in a, you and I are in the GolfRules Samaritan Facebook group, which we absolutely love. And we're around our own people, amongst our own people that will cry about, you know, how good the rules are. Not necessarily, we all have our opinions on the rules and which ones we like and which ones we don't like. But at the same time, we all agree that they're good. We all agree that the rules are necessary, but we seem to be in a minority where, you know, how many people do we see that don't play by the rules?
No, that's that's a good point you've made. I think I wouldn't see this as a hurdle to fostering and growing the game. You know, a lot of people are going to take up the game. They're going to join golf clubs. I wouldn't position this, you know, at the front of house to say, oh, you know, if you don't pass this test, you can't even become a member. I would say it should actually be part of the process of membership. You know, when you join, you know, you're introduced to members. You play with members who know the game, who understand the game, who understand the rules, and they become your buddies. You know, they become your mentors, you know, and they help you through playing the game, being out on the course, understand for the environment you're going to play on, i.e. your landscape, you know, the real estate that you'll play your golf on, all the top maybe half a dozen scenarios that you have to understand, i.e. does your course have penalty areas? You know, are there a lot of cart paths, you know, movable obstructions? You know, what type of boundary objects does the course have? You know, within those boundary objects, are there gates? You know, just laying out, here are the things that you're going to encounter on a weekly basis, and this is how you proceed. You know, talk them through it, give them the basics. That's enough to allow them to understand how to apply, you know, how to apply their own penalties. You know, it's what the rules of golf tell us. You know, it's all about integrity. It's all about applying your own penalties. But if you don't know you've had a penalty, you can't apply it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. So sort of instill in them that the game of golf is this, and these are the boundaries that you need to play within to play the game that we love, and the game that's been around for 400 years, or by the rules nearly 300, but possibly longer than that.
Yeah, and I think this is personal for me. I think if you have a stronger understanding of the rules, it makes the game even more enjoyable. But I think something that it brings to the fore, which a lot of people don't appreciate, and that is certainly the new rules, Blakey. The new rules as they have been written and why they were changed. The new rules are our best friend. You know, they're far less penal than the old rules were. You know, and they've now been adapted to make the game fairer. And they've also been written in a way to make the rules easier to understand. And if you can get your head around that, you know, for me, it's a no-brainer. If you now understand how to apply the rules and how you can use them to your advantage, and that's not saying you're not doing it in the spirit of the game, but if you understand how you can apply them to your advantage, you know, it could be a stroke saver, could be two-stroke saver, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you're taking a drop and you can see, well, if I drop into this part of the course, I'm actually going to be, my next stroke is going to be impeded by another abnormal course condition, and I'm going to be able to take another drop. And I reckon if I calculate this right, I'm going to be able to, you know, do a bit of a jumping game here and get myself back out on the fairway and give myself a good lie. You know? Yeah,
it's good.
I'm only able to do that because I understand the rules.
Yeah, that's right. What would you say your least favorite rule in the book is, Fraser?
Oh, I don't have any least favorites. Well, I say that because, like you and I, Blakey, we know our way through the rule book, through, you know, all 24 rules and all, you know, 517 entities they contain. Again, I'll switch this. I'll say the rule I think that sits at the heart of the rules, which I think everybody should get their head round and be aware of, is the big rule, rule number 14. You know, because it covers so many aspects that you know, touch on probably every round. You know, marking, lifting, replacing, dropping. When is a ball back in play? You know, 14.6, you know, returning to where you last played from, or having to put a ball back in play when a stroke's been cancelled. That touches on so many other elements, you know, all your free relief, all your penalty relief, and so many other parts. So understanding that particular rule, notes it's made up of 7 different parts, I think is critical. So yeah, I think I don't have rules that I really hate, but there are rules to me that when I talk to someone about learning the rules, I'd probably say rule number 14 is a big one. And then other things like, you know, stuff that applies to the whole principle of the game. Play the course as you find it and the ball as it lies. And, you know, most of that's covered in rule number 8.
Yeah, that's I like that. So, you know, the rule book, the rest of the rules are sort of a stroke, like a skill of playing the actual, you know, making a stroke at the ball, whereas rule 14 is more a technical. The skill there is A, knowing the rules, and B, knowing what to do to put your ball into play or take it out of play, and that kind of thing. I see what you're saying there. I like that.
And I think, you talk about, what are the rules? I hate that. I think thinking about the common golfer, which hundreds of thousands, millions of them out there, probably the rule they find the hardest to understand and apply is probably rule number 8, particularly 8.1a, where you've been penalised for improving the conditions affecting your stroke. A lot of players, if they've never read the rule book, are probably doing that more often than they appreciate. Back to this, how many penalty strokes really, have you failed to apply to your scorecard today?
Yep.
What about you? What's is there a rule that you've asked that question? So I guess, do you have a rule you hate?
Yes, I have one that I think should be changed. I just think it's more a case of, I think that it gets broken all the time. I'd say that this was the number 1 broken rule. There's a top 3, obviously, but this would be number 1. 10.2 advice. I'd say that would get broken every weekend, and people don't even know. So I would get rid of that. I don't see it being a, even if I guess you could make it a local rule on the tour, but I don't see, even if you did it, that people would get that bigger advantage as long as they're playing fast. I wouldn't be too fast to just remove that, but I mean, that would be the only one. There's other rules that probably are unfair, but I don't mind them. I have no issue with some of the rules that possibly trip you up. I enjoy the uniqueness of the game that's made by some of the rules, because that's how I see the rules. I see them as, a boundary that we play within. Yes,
yeah. They're the framework which we live and breathe by. Actually, it reminds me of our good friend Pete Abraham. I think I can speak on Pete's behalf here. He's got one rule that he'd love to see changed, and that is rule 11.1a. And the aspect of that says, if a stroke made from the putting green strikes another ball that was at rest on the putting green when the stroke was made, it's a 2-stroke penalty. And Pete threw up a great question last year. He said, well, what if it's my turn to putt? Fraz is on the other side of the green, his ball's on the green, nowhere near where I'm going to putt to. I've got a 40-footer, maybe Fraz is only 20 feet. Typical Fraz, he's not paying attention. As Pete putts, Fraz putts. Fraz putt, because it's closer, reaches the hole quicker than Pete's ball does and comes to rest. Pete's ball arrives at the hole and strikes Fraz's ball. It's a 2-stroke penalty. My ball was at rest. It was at rest on the putting green before the stroke was made. It was at rest on the putting green when Pete's ball struck it. Who gets the 2-stroke penalty?
You do.
Not Fraz, but poor Pete. That's a harsh one. That is a harsh one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and if you think about it now, and pace of play is such a huge part of the game now. We're all told, go ahead, play when you're ready golf. I can see that happening,
That's a disincentive.
Yeah. So will it be changed? I'm not convinced, because I think the ruling bodies are looking that. I think the focus when it comes to rule changes, Blakey, is frequency of, you know, of likelihood.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the rules. They don't want the rules to get as big as they have been in the past. In that case, my only defense is be more aware. It's unfortunate to Pete, but be more aware of where everyone else is playing, which possibly could be to the detriment of the pace of play. But at the same time, there are other places where you can save time. And so that would be my only defense for why that won't be changed. I can see why it should be changed, but that would be, I mean, they did change it from any ball on the green to now only a ball in play and at rest, or by saying at rest on the green, at rest on the green infers that it is in play. Yeah. So you can hit another ball that is not at, we can't call it at rest, we can call it taking a break on the green. And if you hit a ball that's taking a break on the green, it's not necessarily going to be a penalty, but if the ball is at rest on the green, it is going to be a penalty.
Yeah. Well, remember, if you look at the definition of in play,
yes,
the rules talk of a ball at rest, they're talking of a ball that is in play. So if you and I are, you know, on a green and there's a ball there and we can see perhaps somebody walking up an adjacent fairway and they wave over at us and point, their ball is a ball in play.
That's right.
We can't, and if we were to putt and strike that ball, the penalty applies.
Their ball was at rest.
That ball is in play.
Whereas if it came off the practice range,
it's
not a ball at rest. It's a ball taking a break.
Do you know what the definitions tell us it is?
Abandoned ball.
It's an abandoned ball is it's a movable obstruction.
That's right. That's right. Because it's artificial.
Yeah.
So this is a bit tongue in cheek, but how does it feel? Because, you know, you have an amazing group, the GolfRules Samaritan, and you're one of the points I wanted to make when, you know, you were describing how we met, and we both can't actually remember, but the point about that is Fraser is fantastic with his networks and just a really people person. I hope you don't mind me saying that phrase, but you're a real people person, and you're just, you know, you've been so helpful with me and what I've been doing, and I hope I've reciprocated. But
absolutely.
you know, we talked, you know, one of the first conversations that we ever had was, you know, there's being a GolfRules nerd, and then there's being a referee, which referees need to know the rules we encourage. You get stuck out in the golf course if you don't know your rules, but you also need to know how to speak to the players. Player management is probably the most important aspect of being a referee. It's actually more important than being than knowing the rules of golf. And the number one reason is that if you've got you should have a radio or even just a mobile phone, and you can call someone that does know the rules of golf. But you know, you have a fantastic network with the GolfRules Samaritan Facebook group and the amazing Excel spreadsheet that you've created to try and educate everyone on. Do you want to just give us a quick insight into the GolfRules Samaritan what do you call it, the worksheet?
No, it's just, yeah, it's just the GolfRules Samaritan spreadsheet, Blakey. It's just a big, massive spreadsheet of 23 separate sheets that is essentially a sort of, it's a rule book. It's the entire rule book has been, I call it digitized. So it's been taken from physical print, and it's been, transformed into a spreadsheet to become a database. So every entity of the rules of golf has a separate row allocated to it within the sheet, and through that we're able to join up all the dots and see that when one rule talks about it may contain references to definitions. I'm able to highlight what those definitions are, and through a click of one button you can jump to the definition sheet and just see those definitions and read the information. I developed it. It's I'm embarrassed to say I've probably spent 2,000 hours on it in the last 16, 17 months. And I developed it because, here's a rule book, and when you first set out on a journey of discovery to learn the rules, you find yourself looking at a rule, and thumbing down and reading something, and it will say, and it will refer to another rule. And then you find yourself thumbing through to another bit and trying to keep one finger in one page so you can go back and one another. And then you think, well, but now I've got to go and look at a definition, and before you know it, I've lost track. So I created the spreadsheet as a way to be able to home in and navigate much simpler, much easier, much faster, with the aim of making it much more intuitive and much more fun. And when I set out with this spreadsheet, again, a bit like my GolfRules group, I didn't have any strategy. I had no long-term plans. I didn't have any vision of what it would become and what it would create. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And now, I distribute it within my group. I make it available on 2 or 3 other Facebook groups as well. I do that free of charge. Like you, Blakey, you've got various, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you have your website, you're on YouTube, you have a podcast. You distribute all your knowledge, all your love and your passion, and you do it freely. And you've been an inspiration to me. I've seen what people are doing out there. You've been involved in the rules of golf much longer than I have, and I think I've been really fortunate, Blakey, because I've met people like you who have given their time and their knowledge so freely and so willingly to others. And you talk about my rules group, and it's you say it's great. It's only great because it has at its core certain values that I try to instill, and that is friendship amongst the community, respect amongst your peers. The guys that like you are rules officials and who know the rules, and that may have a different opinion, may have a different interpretation of what the rules say and how we're meant to read them. But most of all, I have this rules group that just, I don't know how, Blakey, I still, to this day, I'll never know, but I've had so many wonderful experienced rules officials from all over the planet join me. I'm humbled that we just had the Ryder Cup. Yeah.
What I was going to mention that too.
Can I just say, as a European, can I just say, congrats USA, Team USA. What a team! What a team! just so many fabulous golfers who, you know, I just got most of them, you know, and I even include DJ in this, even though he's 37, have a wonderful career ahead of them. It was wonderful to see. I congratulate them. The golf they played was just fantastic. But I was watching that Ryder Cup 24/7, and at the same time, I was able to chat to one of the officials on site that entire weekend, chatting about how are you getting on, you know, what game are you following, you know, how did your game go, what are you up to today, oh, did you see this on another event, can you go find out for me why we gave that ruling, what was the referee, what did he see? I had all that chat going on, Blakey. Just how cool is that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, pretty good
access. Just because of the relationships I've created, I had that backdoor entry to the Ryder Cup, and I've been able to share it with my group. You know, a couple of questions came up on, was it Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, there was one about Saturday. Yeah. There was one about vertical distance dropping.
Yeah, Shane's dropped the back of the 17. A lot of my guys said,
did you see it? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. And I think I knew in my head what was going on, but somebody posted, you know, he's 2 feet below the level of the surface onto which he dropped. Can you do that? And I was able to reach out to
2 club lengths.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, one of the members came back and said, "We're in the car. We're driving back to the hotel. I'm with the referee. He's driving, so I'm chatting." Shane initially started to take an incorrect drop because he started to measure from that spot above the level of the ball. And the referee said to him, "Look, you have 2 club lengths from where that ball lies, but you can measure up, you know, vertically through the slope. And as long as you're dropping within 2 club lengths, you're okay. And as long as where you're dropping is within, you know, no nearer the hole than the reference point, which is where the ball was at rest, you're okay." So yeah, just having, you know, that back door and being able to have somebody post to the group, you know, "I'm here, I was part of this, I saw what was going on," you know, just I'm just humbled, Blakey. I'm just humbled.
Yeah, I have a bit of that access too, and you know, they're friends to me. I've worked with them, and I just really appreciate. I lived through that experience with them, kind of thing. You know, amazing how amazing it must be to be there and do that. And you know, but just on the Shane thing, I guess the rule, the reason for that rule, the principle behind that, not using vertical distance, is that if you had, say, you had a cliff face of 2 meters, that you couldn't go up to the top of the cliff face and then measure 2 club lengths from there. If your ball's at the bottom of the cliff face, you could measure up the cliff face with 2 club lengths, and if that got you to the top, you could just, you know, drop your ball right on the top. But you know, you couldn't unless you couldn't if the cliff face was, you know, more than 2 club lengths.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be a social media influencer, Fraser, in the rules of golf?
I'm not a social media influencer. Not at all. I think I see myself as just a little guy who loves the game of golf. He's built a Facebook group. I'm a facilitator, Blakey. I've created a platform for other like-minded rules of golf officials and rules of golf, you know, aficionados to to communicate, to join up, to chat, you know, to get to know one another. I look at some of the guys in my group, and I see the conversations that actually exist on their own private, personal Facebook accounts, and I think those guys hooked up through my group, and you know, that's all it is. I've just created something that people respect and admire and, you know, appreciate. I don't see myself as an influencer. That's not what I set out to be. Although somebody recently said to me, they saw me as, you know, an influencer within the rules of golf, which just, yeah, I thought, well, really?
Well, you've grown this group, and you influence the decisions of people by, you know, the good thing of, and this is where I enjoy our relationship, is you don't push your opinion on anyone. You just suggest that maybe we look at it in a different way, and then, you know, when everyone's looked at it and everyone's had their say, you know, there's the majority, and we're probably going to side with majority, but, you know, when it's 60-40 or whatever, most of the time we'll just go back to the R&A or USGA and say, hey, we're really split on this one. We need your help. And, you know, because as you and I both say and both know, we don't make the rules. We try and help the majority out there, but we don't make them. The USGA and R&A make them. And if they want to, you know, if we need a decision from them, we get a decision from them, because they are the ones that make the rules. Yeah,
well, that's I think what a lot of people maybe do love about my group is that I take the time, Blakey, when we have these wonderful debates and discussions about, you know, all the weird scenarios that we can, you know, encounter on golf course. I'm happy to take those to the ruling body to say, you know, help. Well, you know, what rules should apply and why? You know, how should we govern these outcomes? And I've been really fortunate, particularly with the USGA, who have, you know, given me a lot of time, been very patient with me, and they answer all my questions where they can, and the ones where they can, I know that those are ones where they're, you know, they're putting them under the microscope. They're probably talking with their, you know, with their buddies across the pond at St Andrews, and they're, you know, they're saying, look, you know, how should we agree on this? We've got to come up with, you know, with one answer. And I think, Blakey, you know, I'm really excited about 2023 and the next rewrite, the first rewrite of the modernisation programme, to see what comes out. And if I see just one or two little rule changes in there that I know are relative to questions I have submitted to the rule makers, then I'm going to say, great. You know, I played just a little small part in raising that, you know, bringing that to their attention and seeing it changed.
Well, a lot of the questions that you put to them are, you know, excellent questions where there may or may not be holes. You know, if you and I and the rest of the group can't find the answer, then most of the time that's because the answer isn't there, or it's very ambiguous. So, you know, we're not trying to say, oh, look, you've made a stuff up here. We're just saying maybe you should think about finding us an answer for this. But as you quite rightly pointed out, if it's only, and one of my dear colleagues when I was at Golf Australia, you know, he said, if it happens, you know, if it happens once, okay, but tell us the second time it happens, and then we might think about making a decision for it.
Yeah. Well, I you talked about refereeing earlier on, Blakey. I've only started my refereeing journey this year, and within my group, I've got hundreds of referees who've been doing it, 15, 20 years, and some of them are the most revered and respected referees in their continent. And I see myself as somebody who I want to take up the cause for these guys who are out there on the course, thousands of hours every year, and most of them do it voluntary as well. And I want to take up their cause. I want to be their conduit to the rule makers to say, look, all these referees out there helping to grow the game of golf. Yeah, let's not forget that. These guys help grow the game, particularly the guys who are working with the juniors. They're out on the course. They're helping the juniors understand the rules, apply the rules, learn the rules. That's part of growing the game for me. And I see my little role is I'll happily go to the rule makers, say, hey, come on. I'll give you a great example, Blakey. You'll remember this. The USJ, and for all the listeners out there, the USJ have been running a quiz for the last 18 months. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, Blakey.
No, not at all.
They're running a quiz. It's available on their website, and it's called the Short Course Quiz. And they're now into season 2. Season 1 was such a success that it was recommissioned. It's probably going to be appearing on Netflix for season 3. But season 1 was made up of 6 rounds, and each round focused on one aspect of the rules. And it was made up of 18 questions. You had front 9 questions, which were the easier sort of questions, and then the back 9, the really, really tough ones. And in one of those rounds, there was a question relative to Model Local Rule E12, which is a rule that can be introduced by committee for taking back on the line. And this was introduced through the clarifications it was given right away in January 2019. And they threw up a question on this. And guys who were part of this quiz, who were on the top of the leaderboard in the top 20, I asked them, 20 people who'd been officiating for hundreds of years between them, how were they ruling and why? And they were split 50-50 based on how they read a clarification to this rule, 50-50. And I went to both ruling bodies. I said, look, you've published a clarification to say this local rule, this is how you can apply the back on the line relief in a different way to safeguard people from being penalised for playing from a wrong place. 50% understand it, 50% don't. Do you think you've actually written it as clearly as you should have? And I know that come 2023, that rule, that back on the line rule, as we see it today within its subparts where it applies in Rule 16 and Rule 19 and Rule 17, it's going to be completely rewritten. But I thought, what, I'm just taking up the cause. That's what I'm doing. And if I go back to the refereeing, Blakey, you talked about knowing the rules is one thing, but being able to apply them and talk to people on the course, that in itself is a whole different rule book.
Yeah.
And again, for me, I got lucky. Before I went out on the course for the very first time, I'd had all our conversations, what you taught me. I'd had conversations with, hey, a big shout out to our good friend in Quebec, Gerry Bauer. Gerry and I become great friends, and Gerry as well has given up so much of his time to referee and officiate. during the winter months when they've got snow on the ground in Canada. He runs rule schools. He does webinars to teach people the rules, and he also helps people study for the level 2 equivalent exam. So I had your input, I had Gerry Bauer's input, I had Pete Abraham's input, I had Jerry Glover in Arizona, all of his input, and many, many others. And, you know, without that, you know, I wouldn't have had a start.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome how all the access that you've had to all the different people. And as you said, like as we said from the start, you know, the networking that we've been able to do with all these different people. You have to excuse my technology. Roscoe used up all my battery, so I'm dead for batteries. But I have many cameras that I'll try.
That's all right. You can see me. I can picture you.
Well, can you please? That's probably a time to wrap us up. So could you please run through the question, because this is basically what everyone listens to the GolfRules questions for. Could you please run through the question for the GRQOTW for episode 48, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my privilege and pleasure, Blakey, to be reading this question, and I'm going to dedicate it to our dear friend Roscoe. I know in the past you've asked Roscoe to do various accents, and he's had a go at his, you know, at the mother tongue. So let me read this question out in good old Scottish. Here we go. Fraz and Blakey are playing against each other in a match play competition. Fraz steps up on the 18th tee. He's all pumped up. He's just won the last 4 holes to get the game back to all square. In his excitement, Fraz tees off from the wrong teeing area and hits it dangerously close to the out of bounds. Blakey sees this, but doesn't recall the stroke. Fraz, however, now realizes he's played from the wrong teeing area and decides he wants to play a provisional ball just in case his first ball may be out of bounds. How does Fraz proceed? Shall I go through that once again, Blakey?
Yeah, go through it once again. You can give us the quick version, the surmised version.
So Fraz, playing Blakey in match play, tees off from the wrong teeing area of the ball, hits it dangerously close to out of bounds. Blakey does not recall Fraz's stroke. Fraz realizes he's played from the wrong teeing area and wishes to now play a provisional ball. How should Fraz proceed?
That was pretty good. Fraz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for reading out. There we go. I'm back slowly. Try the other camera. I've got too many cameras. That's the issue. Even though I'm a small man now, that's fine. So question, episode 48, GRQOTW. Hope everyone's got that. I think that probably sums us up for episode 48. Thank you very much, Fraser, for coming on. Did you notice the title of the video? Sorry, the title of the episode. I sent in the agenda. I sent. What was it called? I thought I was quite smart. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that one.
Yeah. Although you spelt it wrong.
I forget? I always drop the
another
H. I always forget the H, don't I?
Yeah. No. You were referring to nickel as in a coin.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, but I was spelling it in your name.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I like what you did there.
Thank you.
Blakey, it's been an absolute pleasure to be a guest on your podcast. I think it's the best Rules of Golf podcast on the planet. So I'm just honoured to be on here. Before I go, do you mind if I make a couple of shout outs?
No, I don't mind at all. And I was certainly going to say, if anyone would like the spreadsheet, they can email me and I'll get you to send it through to them, Fraser. But
yeah,
go ahead with your shout outs.
Well, look, I followed you since day one. I promote the podcast. I tell all my friends about it, and you've got a couple of faithful followers from Yorkshire, Webble, Andy Webster, and Steve Whiting. They're two good close buddies of mine. We met through the rules. Blakey, they joined my Facebook group, and the three of us studied for our level 2 exam this year. We had a weekly Zoom call where we'd run through one of my quizzes from the spreadsheet, and we studied together. And those boys have become good friends, and I just thought we'll give them a shout out. They'll appreciate that.
Yeah, excellent. They've certainly Steve certainly asked a fair few questions and put some questions on my podcast, and Webbo too. So absolutely love that kind of community. And anyone out there listening, if you have a rules question that you'd like to put on the podcast, although I think this one's been better than the live stream, although again I've stuffed up the technology, but I think I'm going to try the live stream on a regular time, which most likely will be in your early morning, Fraser, but try a regular time and just do a couple of questions that I've received that week on social media. So that should be a lot easier. And then if people join up and have other questions, they're more than welcome. And I'm sure I'll see you there if it's not too early.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Fraser or Fraser. And I don't think this will be the one and only time you come on the podcast. So thank you very much for giving your time and the amazing work that you do at the GolfRules Samaritan Facebook page. So everyone out there, I hope you've really enjoyed Fraser and I having a chat about the rules of golf. And in Victoria, we're almost getting back into playing golf, so that's good. But just remember, without rules, there is chaos.
Thanks, Blakey. Keep up the great work, sir.
Thank you too, sir.